Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu. It's Isa Abu Isa. Most of you probably know me from the night shift. And today we're going to start the reading of the propaganda pundits masquerading the Salafi Dawah. And I'm reading this book because as we see, the fitna has turned into them just propagating things and going to slander and the attack on people using these tactics. And I think that these tactics should be read and broken down slowly over a course of series of videos, that maybe you can spot it and you can see exactly what's happening. You find people who don't have any proof or evidence, like Salam barakatuhu, they go into these types of tactics. And before we begin, I'd like to clarify something. The night shift, you hear things where people say, oh, the brothers slowed down. The brothers, maybe they've gotten soft. And this isn't just. Because me and that brother Abu Zayd, may Allah preserve, my co-host Amin, have done a lot by Allah's permission. And we have, covered a lot of ground. And it wasn't an issue that was happening in that affair, except that me and a brother by Allah's permission touched on those affairs. Even attacking these people's Bible, Ashar al-Sunnah, not attacking the book, but their usage of the book and dealing with that issue. So it's not that we slowed down or that we even got soft. It's just that the bulk of the issues with these people, that we've dealt with that. And as you go along and as you learn and as you study, because this is a learning process for me and for him, you grow, you mature, you figure things out, you see a different level of the fight. And you see a different level and you see a different situation that you need to touch on. And even if you look at our last video, A Mercy Upon Salafiyya, Sheikh Utaybi's book, Hafizahullah, we still dealt with the issue of the cult. And even when we deal with issues of the heart, we tie it back to dealing with the cult, about removing the heart from personalities and placing them with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because that is the real issue. The real issue of these cults in this Salafi cult that they call themselves Salafi, they themselves have done a good job of separating us, attaching us to personalities and separating us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whether it was on purpose or not, that's not the issue. The issue is that the heart itself has been attached to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's just the bottom line. And it's been attached to a cult characteristic, the egos and personalities. That's the problem. And so it's not fair to me and it's not fair to my brother Abu Zayd, may Allah preserve him, to say that someone is trying to control our creative control, or that someone is trying to water us down. And maybe they are. But it's not happening. It has never happened. And no one controls the night shift or the direction of the night shift except me and Abu Zayd. But like I said, you grow and you mature. And we know that there's different levels to this fight. It's not just always a frontal attack. You have to start dealing with the root causes now. You dealt with the heads. You dealt with the mechanics. You dealt with the people in control. And I'm going to deal with them today in this propaganda. I'm going to deal with them today. I'm not going to stop dealing with them. But it's down to start dealing with what is the way forward. What was the cause of it in the first place? Weak iman. And the heart being attached to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is that. So, alhamdulillah, propaganda. And this book was written by our brother Abu Aliyah, the same brother who wrote the cult papers, Cult Characteristics. May Allah preserve him. He did an interview with us on the night shift. And this brother did a wonderful job of exposing the reality of this cult and bringing it to its knees, basically. The whole world now knows the reality of these people from the actions of our brother. And him taking the time out to write these articles in these books, which I think should be published. And hopefully that we'll get a chance to publish it. And hopefully the brother will continue to write on this issue. It says the definition of propaganda. Propaganda is neutrally defined as a systematic form of purposeful persuasion, that attempts to influence the emotions, attitudes, opinions, and actions of specified target audience for ideological, political, or commercial purposes. Let's bring it home. CNN, NBC News, the CIA, who runs most of these corporations, because if you look at all the media outlets in America, it's ran by 5 corporations, CIA being one of them. Their propaganda is like, for example, you have Tom Brokaw or somebody like that who gets paid $2-3 million a year just to sit and read a proper tale. You know why? Because the reality is that you pay him to shut up because he knows he's lying and he knows it's propaganda. Why does he never say anything? Because you pay him $2-3 million a year and he's always remained quiet about the lies. And the same thing we see with propaganda now. We see people, they offer them women. They offer them imam positions. They offer them cars. They offer them power in the community. So even if they know it's oppression and extremism, they'll remain quiet because he can have 4 wives and not a job. He can have 4 wives and never work a day in his life. So why speak up and why say anything? So, for example, if you want somebody to be a nationalist, what's the propaganda? All you got to do is take some of that person's statements that without the rest of the context seems nationalistic. And you put that statement out there, and then you bring statements of non-Muslims who may have said the same statement, and then you connect that person to that nationalistic statement, and you say the brother's a nationalist. That's propaganda. That's propaganda. To say that all black people live in the ghetto and all black people sell drugs, what you do is you make movies about that. Menace in Society, Boys in the Hood. Okay? That's what you do, and you push it. That's propaganda. If you want the country to seem that it's a racial divide so great that the country's about to fall into ruin and protests is happening, you start making movies like Detroit. You start pushing the agenda of there's a race war about to happen in the country, and your things happen in the country, and you push those agendas. If you want a certain president in office, what do? You push that agenda. So we see the same tools being used amongst the Salafi Dawah against other Salafis or other Ahlul Sunnah because it's an agenda to keep them out of play so you can stay in play. It's all about power and games. So he says, through the controlled transmission of one-sided messages. How many years have we heard a one-sided message? And the only reason the tide turned now because we have social media and other people stood up and talked. The night shifts only exist because of 20 years of oppression. Shadeed Muhammad exists because of 20 years of oppression. That's why they exist. Because it's a reaction to 20 years of propaganda and nonsense. It says, which may or may not be factual. Mass and direct media channels. It has been utilized throughout history by agencies to manipulate and sway the general public in support of their varying agendas. Some prominent cases familiar to those residing in the Western societies are the campaigns at election season and the Second Gulf War. How do we know that? When it was during the Second Gulf War, they actually filmed in a fake desert like they were in a war zone filming what was going on in the Second Gulf War. The First Gulf War, they did the same thing. This is all called propaganda. Or they push and say North Korea has a nuclear weapon and they're about to shoot it at America, and they show pictures of missiles going in the air. It might not even be North Korea's missiles. It might be their missiles, but they video camera and they say that it's North Korea testing missiles. That's propaganda. And you eat it up. So they get on there and they say, well, Abu Aliyah listens to rap music and he does this and he does that. All propaganda. They get on there and they take a statement out of context of one of the guys other than themselves, and then they surround a whole story around the actual statement to make it believe that this person has this Akida problem or he's this or that. Because all you have to do is take a piece of a statement, a piece of a statement, and create an environment around the statement. And then give it to the general public. And what we do, we eat it up. Just like when CNN does it. Just like when Fox News does it, NBC does it, CBS does it, ABC does it, which is all controlled basically by the same people. Wait, Saddam Tabarakatu. So let's go into the first propaganda. It says the first propaganda that happened in history was Iblis against Adam and Hawa through fabrication, them or coercing them to accept his falsification that consuming from the tree, Allah forbid them, would grant them immortality. Look at this. Adam and Hawa, alayhim assalam, already was going to live forever in Jannah. How do you use propaganda that well to get people to believe something they already possess, that they don't possess it, that now they have to go possess it and only you have it? And you don't possess it yourself, but you made them believe that you possess it, like knowledge, like you're the signpost of Salafiyya, like you're the signpost of the Sunnah, like you're the known da'is. All this is propaganda. And in reality, if you look at it, they don't have any credentials, but the people that they're talking about have all the credentials. But the propaganda tool is that the people who have all the credentials are the ones who don't possess any credentials, and they're the enemies. How does that happen? Because propaganda, one of the main themes of propaganda is you need a boogeyman. Because the only way to stay relevant is a boogeyman. Like America can't exist without what? A boogeyman. It needs boogeymen to feed its military-industrial complex. So the same thing with this Salafi cult. It needs a boogeyman or boogeymen to feed its industrial complex, which is control the resources of the Dawah and the information of the Dawah, which they have lost control of. But alhamdulillah. And he says, وَقَاسَاهُمَا إِنِّي لَكُمَ لَمِنَ النَّاصِحِينَ فَدَلَّاهُمَا بِغُرُورٍ فَلَمَّا ذَاقَ الشَّجَرَةَ بَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا وَطَافِقَاتْ يَخْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ وَنَادَاهُمَا رَبُّهُمَا أَلَمْ أَنْهَاكُمَا عَنْ تِلْكُمَا سَجَرَةِ وَقُلْ لَكُمَا إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمَا عَدُوٌّ مُبِينٌ قال ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا ولنكونن من الخاسرين قال اهبطوا بعضكم لبعض عدو ولكم في الأرض مستقر ومتاع إلى حين. And he, Iblis, swore by Allah to them both, verily I am one of the sincere well-wishers for you both. So he misled them with deception. Then when they tasted of the tree that was hidden from them, of their shame, their private parts became manifest to them, and they began to stick together the leaves of paradise over themselves to cover their shame, which their private parts. And their Lord called out to them, saying, did I not forbid you that tree and tell you, verily Satan is an open enemy to you? They said, our Lord, we have wronged ourselves. If you forgive us not and bestow not upon us your mercy, we shall certainly be of the losers. Allah said, get down, one of you enemy to the other. Adam, Hawa, and Shaitan on earth will be your dwelling place for you and enjoyment for a time. The point I want to bring out is the propaganda is that somebody tells you that you need something from them that you already possess. They have made our people believe that without them, they don't have Salafiyya. That you got to come to them to get Salafiyya. You already have it. You already possess it. You already possess the necessary tools. Iman. Allah guides you to Islam. But they make you believe that without their advice, without them, then you don't have Salafiyya. You don't have the Sunnah. And it only can come from that well. There's no other oceans or lakes to drink from. That's propaganda. And anyone that now wants to make his own river and make his own ocean, they say, no, that ocean is polluted. Don't drink from that ocean. Don't drink from that cup. And they make you believe that if you don't drink from this ocean or this river, then your Salafi or the Sunnah or your Islam is invalidated or weakened or not acceptable. This is propaganda, and we fell for it for years. When are we going to stop falling for it? No one can take the Sunnah from you. No one. At all. No one can give you Iman or take Iman from you, except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah further addresses the uses of propaganda by those who wish to dissuade members of their societies from accepting Islam by way of concoction of corrupt concepts and ideologies. For example, in America, when they want to show an extreme Muslim, they show somebody that looks like me with a beard, kufi, short pants, or a woman covered up in all black with a niqab on and things like that. When they want to show who they say a moderate Muslim, they show a Muslim with no beard, with a suit jacket on and a tie, saying that everybody's the same. See the propaganda in that? You see that? This is what propaganda is. And the reality is that they continue to do it. Why? And I think they've done this with these different Muslim cults. Tabligh, the Ahmadiyya movement started by the British. The Muslim Brotherhood started by the British. I believe these Salafi movements that have nothing to do with the real Salafi or the real Salaf are also created and funded by the British Secret Service and other than them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يُرِيدُونَ يُطْفِئُوا نُورَ اللَّهِ بِأَفْوَاهِهِمْ وَاللَّهُ مُتِمُّ نُورِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْكَافِرُونَ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, and they intend or they desire to extinguish the light of Allah with their tongues, and Allah will complete His light no matter how much the disbelievers may hate it. No matter how much they may hate it. Now, in later generations, we've seen this propaganda used where you have people like they would fabricate hadith, or rulers would force people to fabricate hadith to establish a principle they want to be used, or a certain Aqidah point they want to be used, and things like that. So you'll see them push an agenda by lying on the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is not uncommon. This is not unheard of. This has happened. So don't be shocked that these brothers are lying on Islam and lying on scholars. Don't be shocked to get their point across. Don't be shocked with a loaded question. Don't be shocked by the attacking the honor of people's families online. Don't be shocked by that type of behavior, because this is what propaganda pundits do. They're willing to go as far as possible to save themselves. This is what propaganda does. The point of propaganda is, to me, I want you to accept my point, even if I have to lie. Even if I have to change something about it, or add, or decrease. It doesn't matter, as long as the point gets across to you what I mean, even if I'm a liar. This is what propaganda is. And the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever lies upon me, to let him prepare his seat in the fire. Let him prepare his seat in the fire. Now, that was the meaning of propaganda. Let's go into the first chapter, which is name calling, because this is the reality. Name calling. All the people have resorted to is to call people out of their name. They say Muhammad Muftari instead of calling him Muhammad Munir. They had the one where they had Shadid up there, call him Shu'aib Muhammad, something like they had. And they was attacking the brother and saying, yo, black man, I'm a black man. I mean, come on. I mean, when are we going to get to a point where this stuff is not going to be acceptable behavior? We're going to call these guys out on their behavior. Who talks like that? Who does that? Only somebody who has evil in his chest does something like that. Attack the honor of somebody's wife and children. That you're so afraid of losing power, you're willing to attack the honor of somebody's family. Somebody's child gets online and they see you say that about their father and their mother. How is that supposed to be? You willing to eat that Yom Qiyamah? Are you willing to eat that Yom Qiyamah? And I'm talking to Amjad Rafiq. I'm talking to Abu Khadija. I'm talking to Hassan Somali and all of them. Are you willing to meet Allah Yom Qiyamah with what you're doing? You And all of us are Muslims and brothers in Islam. Are you willing to meet me, Abu Zayd, Shadid Muhammad, Muhammad Munir, any of those brothers on a surat for slandering them and attacking their honor online? Are you willing to do that? And for all you brothers who are listening, you can hold these guys accountable for it. There are defamation laws and cyberbullying and all that stuff. If you can prove it, take them to court. Islam says I can take you to court for slander and defamation. Hold these people accountable. We said in the lecture at the last thing we had at AC, that how do you hold people accountable? That's how you hold them accountable. There's laws in place for this type of stuff. Cyberbullying is a crime. Defamation is a crime. And it can be held accountable for if you can prove it. So he goes and he says, name calling, this technique consists of attaching a negative label to a person or a thing. وَقَالُوا يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ نُزِّلَ عَلَيْهِ الذِّكْرُ وَإِنَّكَ لَمَجْنُونَ. And they say, you, O Muhammad, upon whom the dhikr, the Quran, has been sent down to, indeed you are a madman. Propaganda. I can't defeat you academically. I can't defeat you physically. So now what I have to do, I have to belittle your honor. I have to belittle your status in front of human beings so that they can get away from you and come back to me. That's propaganda. That's exactly what it is. And you can tell when somebody doesn't have dalil because they resort to that. كذلك ما أتى الذين من قبلهم من رسول إلا قالوا ساحر أو مجنون. So this is an old game. Likewise, no messenger came to those before them, but they said a sorcerer or a madman. So this is an old game. Oh, unknowns. What scholars know them. All of this is game and propaganda. All of it. And at the end of the day, we have the layman person has to stop accepting this behavior. So I'm calling the layman's out too. You have to stop accepting this behavior. Somebody puts a tweet up refuting somebody and slandering somebody, and then you retweet it instead of calling that person out, instead of telling them to fear Allah. At the end of the day, if you keep on tweeting it, even if you don't attend it, stop tweeting it because it gets around. And this is a person's honor that we're talking about. So he goes on and he mentions our brother Abu Ali. It says, people engage in this ill-mannered behavior in an attempt to avoid supporting their own opinion with facts. That's the point. You can establish your point because it was easy to establish your point when you wasn't getting punched in the mouth. I mean, when Mufti said that on the night shift, when now somebody's punching you back, you resort to name calling. Because now you realize that the positions you were taking had holes in them all along. But nobody was punching you in the mouth. We're not saying that this people wasn't standing up for the truth before, because we know that Abu Ali wrote the propaganda pundits, the code characteristics and things like that. We had other brothers, the Elephant in the Room came out years ago. We had other Abu Osama speaking up. We had others saying something about this cultish behavior. We had some brothers from Britain doing the same. But then I guess the night shift just came at the right time, and it kind of pushed the envelope a little bit, and it kind of came at the right time. But we wasn't the first ones to had enough of this foolishness. So rather than expounding upon what they believe in, they tear their opponents down. You can't bring anything because, like I said, the question is, bring us the deviancy of these people. Don't give me a 14 or 15 part, I don't know if it's over yet, doubt surrounding the Dawah. It doesn't take that long for you to establish your proofs. It doesn't take you that long because 1 hour video on the night shift did more damage than your whole 15-minute talk. That proved nothing, except that you slandered a scholar. And at the end of the day, it was all conjecture. It was all over the place. And the problem is, again, propaganda. Nobody's listening anymore because it's all garbage. Because if it's not based upon Kitab or Sunnah Ijma', then we have a problem. So today, it is common among Salafi publications and its cohorts in the West to resort to name calling and practice something that Allah hates. As He, Allah Exalted, has said, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu la yaskuru qawmin min qawmin asa an yakunu khayrum minhum ولا نساء من نساء أسى أن يكن خير منهن ولا تلمزوا أنفسكم ولا تنابزوا بالألقاب بئس الاسم الفسوق بعد إيماني وما لم يتوب فأولئك هم الظالمون. So, oh, you who believe, let not a people ridicule another people. Perhaps they may be better than them. Nor let women ridicule other women. Perhaps they may be better than them. And do not insult one another. And do not call each other by offensive nicknames. Like Muftari. Or making fun of the brother on a Twitter, saying the black man this and trying to talk like a black guy in the West. That's actually kind of offensive. You know, I don't see how nobody take offensive to that. That's kind of offensive. What's up, man? And you got this Pakistani guy trying to talk like one of us in an offensive way. Like all black people talk like that. I'll be honest with you. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia right now, in one of the richest black neighborhoods in America. Nobody talks like that here. Nobody. Nobody talks like that. My children don't talk like that, Amjad Rafiq. And nobody got offensive to that? That's insane. And he says, and do not assault one another, and do not call one another by offensive nicknames. Wretched is the name of disobedience of other one's faith, and whoever does not repent, then it is those who are the wrongdoers. But we're going to keep accepting this behavior? That they can get online and slander individuals and call people out of their names? They made a video of Abu Zayd trying to say, when he said, Allah sick me on you. You know, and then they try to attack the brother's honor, my co-host's honor. I mean, that's all you had after all we did on the night shift. After all the points that me and the brother covered, you just had a video of him saying Allah sicked him on you. That's all you had the whole time, the night shift. SubhanAllah, that goes to show you they didn't have anything except propaganda. And when the propaganda was smashed and the doors were kicked in, what happened? They resorted to what? Name calling. Because that's all they have. It says name calling is invalid when it comes to argumentation because there is no proof when the argument is presented by causing fear or producing mistrust. Look at that. They're very good at doing what? Salafi publications and the rest of their gang or cult is very good at causing fear and producing mistrust. And I came up in that era. Alhamdulillah, you too, Akhi. Walaikum salam. It was nice to see you there too. I came up, and the other brothers like Salim, we all came up in that stuff. And we know for a fact that these guys have created an issue of fear. The fear part is fearing that your Islam can't exist without them. And that if you got to sneak to listen to somebody else. And that if you listen to somebody else, they take your Salafiyah and they put it in their back pocket and now you're not Salafi no more. I mean, to do that to a group of people, those group of people you're doing that to, they have to have a low self-esteem of themselves. I'm be honest with you. I'm be honest with you. Anytime somebody from Britain can come here and tell me that I'm not Salafi anymore, that's not going to happen because I don't think that low of myself. And neither should you. And also what they've done is a thing of mistrust. We don't trust each other. And the brother Salim can tell you. It was a time when we smiled at one another. It was a time where it was fun to be Salafi. We loved each other until this Salafi publications came. And when they came, they turned us on one another. And now you walk down the street, you don't know if you ain't seen a brother in a while. You remember him from the Masquerading, Germantown back in the day, the conferences back in the day. You don't know if he's going to salam you or not. We have learned how to mistrust one another. And from that fear and mistrust, we can't bring ourselves together and work with one another because we're scared of one another. How can you build when you're scared of me and you don't trust me? That was the whole point. And we got to realize that. That's the reality of what's happening here. Name calling is a successful way to change another person's perspective, to further advance one's argument and the group's cause or movement. He says, Qalu ajitana. لِتَلْفِتَنَا عَمَّا وَجَدَنَا عَلَيْهِ آبَاءَنَا. And they said, how have you come to us to turn us away from faith? We found our fathers following. This is what they say. Because the whole thing is that you can't win the argument. So you got to say that the Mekteb is a place of Jahiliyyah and innovation. You got to say, don't pray behind those brothers. Because that's all you have in reality. That's it. That's all you have. But this kind of speech and action results from the discomfort they exhibit when advised or critiqued. Think about that. They were advised and critiqued. And you look at the, again, and I said this in the beginning. When you look at how the night shift started, it started from the 5-minute wake ups. We were reading the Coke papers and wasn't saying any names. And we were reading, we were dealing with the issues of the Philadelphia Negro. That's really how it started. Okay, from those two things. And we started reading the Coke characteristics. And I started realizing that, wow, this is what's happening. And then a brother said he would take a bullet for Hassan Somali. And then we took it to another level. We did our research and see it was permissible to say names. I asked Sheikh Mahmoud Luthi Ahmed. He said it was okay. It's our cause, our ijtihad. And we went along and we started talking live and calling out names as we should have. And we've seen the benefits from it. Does everything that we did was correct? Of course not. We're not the Prophet ﷺ. We could be advised and we could be critiqued. But unfortunately, a cult, when you try to critique them and you try to advise them, they go to name calling. We're the known dais. How can we be advised by unknowns? Look at the arrogance of an individual who says that. So he says they construct names for the critic or advisor and assail his intentions. They will say he only advised us to turn us away from the path of the scholars. He is seeking fame and relevance at the expense of the brothers. And then what they say? The brothers. He's attacking the Salafis. They say stuff like, oh, they throw the brothers under the bus in front of the audience of Ahlul Bid'ah. What are you talking about? Because first of all, you got to see those people as signposts of the Sunnah and speaking for Salafiyya for me, which they don't. They do not speak for me, and they are not who I consider to be people who control the Sunnah and who are reference points for Salafiyya. So, you know, people make those statements like that. Why? Because I agree that for 20 years they've destroyed our communities. They've hijacked scholars. And they put scholars in front of us and then made us take their fatwa. And they fooled and tricked and played word game with scholars and got scholars to agree with them. Now, that's what they've done. And anybody who says anything other than what those scholars say, you're attacking those scholars. You're speaking bad about the scholars. You're speaking bad about the brother. All propaganda. Even though we take from those same scholars. And you notice it's never the older scholars. It's never the major scholars. It's always younger, inexperienced scholars they put in front of us. Because that's the only ones they can get to go along with them. Because a more experienced, seasoned scholar is not trying to hear any of that stuff. They can't even call Sheikh Soli Fosan and Sheikh Luhay Dan and Sheikh Muhsin Al-Abad with this stuff. And other than them from the Kibar. They can't call them with this madness. So, and they say you're seeking fame. That's what they said. The brothers just want to seek fame. They look into your chest, they see your intent, and they say that's what your intent is. And some of those things that Salafi publications, they say, liar. Or you're affiliated with so-and-so. You're down with so-and-so. I seen him at the masjid of so-and-so. It's funny because I was coming out of the masjid one time, I think it was 58th Street, Wasatiyah in Philly. And a brother there seen me. And then he went back and he told the gang, the cult, that he seen me at a masjid that's not a masjid of the Sunnah. But how did you see me there if you wasn't there in Jum'ah? But nobody asks those type of questions. He went back and he said he seen me at a particular masjid that they deemed to be a masjid of innovation. He said he seen me there, but it's funny because it was Jum'ah, how did you see me there if you wasn't there? You know what I'm saying? So that's that. Or they say fame seeker, or deviant, or Dajjal, or Iblis. This type of words that they use. Supporter of deviance. They use these type of statements, that you support deviance because a masjid has invited you with no conditions to teach at their masjid and to help correct them. How do you correct the aqeedah of the Muslims if you don't reach out? How? How do you do that? I'm not talking about Ahmadiyya movements. I'm not talking about 45th and Walnut. I'm not talking about Baha'u'ddin of Overbrook that has a shrine in their masjid. I'm not talking about the extreme cases like that, which are very few in number in our city of Philadelphia. Very few. Most of the masjids are just general masjids that people pray in. And if they are affected by something, it's because that's the country they come from, and they're affected by certain characteristics of those particular countries. Okay? So what happens if they invite you there to give a khutbah? Or they invite you to come teach Kitab al-Tawheed, or they invite you to come teach Minhaj Salikin, or they invite you to come teach Surah Thalatha, or they invite you to come teach any of the books of the Aqidah, past or present, in their masjid, and they say you can teach what you want, brother. Do you go, or do you say no because they're not Salafi? I mean, how does that work? Because at the end of the day, do you be stingy with Salafiyah, or does it belong to the human being? Or do you give it to the human being? Or is it just for the people in your masjid? Because Sheikh Mahmoud Luthi made a beautiful statement. He said, once you make Salafi a person, place, or a thing, then you have created a hizb. And that's the bottom line. And Salafi doesn't belong to Germantown. It doesn't belong to Sunnah Nabawiyya. It doesn't belong to any scholar. And no scholar is the signpost of Salafi. It doesn't belong to him. It doesn't belong to Maktab ibn Taymiyyah. It doesn't belong to Shadid Muhammad or Mufti Munir or Tahir Wyatt. Or it doesn't belong to Mash ibn Taymiyyah. It doesn't belong to Hassan Somali or Salafi publication. It's the revelation from Allah for mankind. So they say hater, imposter, pretender, coward. This is what we were called by Hamd Abdul Razak in a lecture. Live. Cowards, stupid, idiots, haters, fools. Statements like this. I mean, literally talking like this in a lecture in front of people. People got up and walked out. Literally talking like this. But we accept this behavior. When Hassan Ali did a talk one time slandering me in Abu Zayd, people were laughing and giggling and joking because we have allowed this behavior to be acceptable behavior. And it's not acceptable. And it's not acceptable. Resentful hater, arrogant, idiot, one who feigns knowledge. He says, by linking the person being attacked to these negative symbols, these propagandists and tabloids, critics hope that their audience will reject the person or the idea upon the basis of the symbol. Instead of looking at the available evidence for a detailed example of some of these phrases, please refer to the appendix courtesy of Dr. Amjad Rafiq and the administration of Choid. May Allah pardon them. So the problem is that, and this also goes for scholars, we don't want to be unjust either. Because we don't want those brothers causing us to start now speaking ill of scholars. Okay, and we're going to deal with this on the night shift, so I'm not going to go too detailed in it, but alhamdulillah, we're going to go into this on the night shift about what do you do when a scholar makes a mistake and what is the adab and the mannerisms with that scholar. We got to be very careful with that. And not saying that scholars are infallible, that they can't be held accountable, but there's a way to hold scholars accountable, and it's not the same way that the general public is held accountable for. One of the ways you can gather the statements of that scholar, or you can gather the things you have. You could take it to the ministry of his country. You could take it to the lejna that's over him. You could take it to these people who can deal with this scholar in a way that the scholars will deal with in a way that is mannerable, and things can be dealt with on that level. But to attack scholars on video and to call them names and try to make it seem like they're this or they're that, because the problem, even if you're right, scholars are not infallible. even if you're right, one of the problems that come from that is that now that principle of the flesh of the scholars is now broken down. So what happens is that you start to now scholars who have nothing to do with the oppression of you or of your community, now it's open season on every scholar. And you don't want to do that. Even if those scholars you're talking about did do what you're saying. And we're not saying they're infallible. Things have been done and said that's not okay, and scholars are human, you know. But at the end of the day, the way you deal with scholars is not the way we deal with the general public. So you should take these brothers who have these issues with these scholars, you should take everything to them. I know the brother Abdul Haq Baker is doing that. I know the brother Abu Ali is trying to do that. And I also advise Shadid to do the same thing. If you have any gripe with a scholar, you should do that. Take it to the necessary people in their land, the governments of their land, and the Lejna Daima that is there, and take it to their lands and let them deal with it. Because if you start trying to deal with it openly and publicly, emotions get in. Maybe you was oppressed. Maybe there's some personal stuff. Emotions come up. Then you may say something, and then everybody starts to say the same thing about that scholar. And even if it's true, it breaks down that barrier and that principle of the flesh of the scholars being poisonous. So inshallah, I hope everybody understands that. I'm not saying that you shouldn't go and deal with scholars when they're wrong, but it's proper protocol to deal with everything. And one of the things we have to do is start getting back to the lost protocols of Salafiyah. One of the things we're going to deal with here is character assassination. And then we'll stop here, inshallah ta'ala. And he says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la takunu kalladhina dhaw Musa fabarahu Allahu mimma qalu wa kana 'inda Allahi wajiha. O you who believe, be not like those who annoyed Musa alayhi salam, but Allah cleared him of that which they alleged, and he was honorable before Allah. And this is one of the things they do. The Jews, they did character assassination on Musa. So even if it's true or not, they will find something, some way to character assassinate you and to make you look like other than you are, or to make something bigger than it is, or find a real fault and then expose that fault to the general public so that you can be defamed and destroyed. And it's not about advice here at this point. It's not about advice. They don't give advice. That's not what they're doing. And anybody who grew up in Philly know the background to all of this stuff. Like I was there since 95 and 96, Islamic Center, Ridge Avenue. I seen all this stuff happen. I seen the masses get taken over. I seen all of it happen. And so did people like Salim and other than us who grew up in this environment. We didn't come in later. We seen it all happen. The Abu Muslim stuff, the Abu everything. We were there from the very beginning. And it says, Pharaoh said, verily, your messengers who has been sent to you is a madman. Instead of trying to disprove Musa, he called him a madman. This is what they say. A deviant. Right? An evildoer. He's not Salafi. He's not on the Sunnah. Or he's Salafi and not clear. As Sheikh Al-Falah said, that doesn't make sense. That's an oxymoron. Salafi and not clear. If you're Salafi, that means you're clear. Because Salafiyah is clear. How do you Salafi and not clear? How does them two go together? So, yeah, they do. They take scholars on and off. Scholars on it at this moment. As soon as that scholar's in agreement 100% with them, those scholars now are deviant. And obviously, all their refutations were not invalid. But unfortunately, with a lot of the lies and the misbehavior and the characteristics of these people, it's hard to take any of their refutations. So now you got to go back and look at all the refutations and make sure that it wasn't loaded. Because that's the reality. I'm not going to keep believing a liar when he comes to me. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, I'm not a chump. And I'm not going to sit here and let you tell me something I'm not going to question you about. I don't care who you are. I'm going to question you. Even a scholar, I'm going to question you. If I don't believe that and I don't know that to be the truth, I'm going to ask you for your dalil. And that's how we got to be. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, the people of Bani Israel used to bathe naked all together, looking at each other. The Prophet Musa ﷺ used to take a bath in by himself. They said, by Allah, nothing prevents Musa ﷺ from taking a bath with us except that he has a scrotal hernia. Something's wrong with his privates. So once Musa went to bathe and put his clothes over a stone, the stone ran away with his clothes. Musa followed the stone, saying, "My clothes, O stone, my clothes, O stone," until the people of Bani Israel saw him and said, "By Allah, Musa has no defect upon his body." So they had already assailed his character, but Allah freed them of it by allowing them to see that Musa alayhi salatu salam had no defects. Now, defaming a prophet with derogatory terms that detract from his reputable status, from his honorable status amongst the people, was a common tactic of the people of falsehood of previous nations. This is what they do. And we're not saying that the brothers are slandering on a different level, the same level as a prophet. But what's the point of constantly following somebody's mistakes? If they're already a deviant to you, they're already off it, then why do you keep following a man's YouTube? That's creepy and weird. That's creepy, and it's not manly. It's not manly to be online and looking and going through people's videos and Facebook accounts and trying to find one piece of what they said. That's weird. And it's creepy, and it's not manly. Men don't do that. Not from where I'm from. That's not manly. I grew up around men. Now, all of this, they were most gangsters and stuff like that, but they had manly characteristics. They talk like men and they walk like men. I don't know any men who gets online and follows up other men. That's weird. And it's not cool. So what they do is that it's a common tactic. That you slander an individual like that. And you find out and you stalk him and you look for his faults and you try to find anything on him. That's actually, that's insane. But we accept that type of behavior. And no one wants to call these people to account. Nobody. But they'll call the night shift to account. They'll call Shadid to account. And I'm not saying everybody deserves to get advised. You can advise me, Shadid, anybody. I know I can be advised. I know Abu Zayd can be advised. And obviously, we didn't do everything 100% correct on the night shift. That's fine. So advise us on it. But the problem is that nobody's advising them either. These same people want to advise us. They're not advising them. They're not going to them and saying the same things to them. Where's the accountability? And we clearly see that they're a cult and have destroyed our communities for over 20 years. Where? Where are you going to these criminals who have destroyed our communities? Where are you going? Where the women are being abused, beat, married 20, 25 times to the, babies all over the place. No academics, no social reform, no nothing. But nobody want to hold their feet to the fire. But if you hold their feet to the fire, you're attacking the Salafis. If you hold their feet to the fire, you're causing fitna. But we're supposed to be quiet and remain quiet and let our communities be sucked dry and destroyed. No, those times are over. And if you don't like it, that's fine. Say your piece. I'll listen to it. But we're not going to stand down. We're not going to stand down until our communities are back on their feet. And we got to get our communities back on our feet. Where's the men? Where's the brothers? Subhanallah wa bihamdi. Accusing the prophets of being crazy is not abnormal relative to those who falsehood has been established against. The evidence is concrete. Thus, they are renowned as being arrogant, stubborn people who reject the truth. The people of falsehood do not adore wasters of time. Debating after an argument has been established against them. The preference is to quickly dispose of their opponents by attacking their credibility, motives, intelligence, character, and if necessary, sanity. There is no limit to their slander, and no offense is beneath them. As Ibn Taymiyyah, he said, name calling and character assassinations is neither knowledge nor is it beneficial. So what do? You telling me if you believe that a brother said something wrong on one of his shows or one of his videos, that now you get on there and you slander the man? You get on there, you call him out of his name. You call him a deviant. Or you get on there, you have this Indian or this Pakistani, Amjad Rafiq, get on there and he makes fun of black people. Yo, my man, what's up, black man? I'm a black man, dude. Listen to this stuff. But nobody was offended by that? Nobody? Even though we have upheld the honor of those brothers on the night shift. Even though they haven't upheld our honor. Even though when brothers made videos of Hassan Ali and Abu Khadija dancing in t-shirts and holding guns in his hand. Because of the gun incident, him pulling a gun out on somebody. Me and Abu Zayd was the first one to tell brothers don't do that. This is not the way forward because we're not a cult and we're not going to fall into that. Because we're not going to character assassinate, but we're going to call you and hold your feet to the fire though. We're all going to do that. And holding your feet to the fire is not slander. Holding your feet to the fire and saying, where's our schools? And it's not computers in a masjid. That's not progress. Progress is spiritual progress. Progress is not buying an empty building, opening up a cafe. That's not progress. Progress was a free Islamic library in the middle of the heart of one of the worst neighborhoods in America. But nobody got behind it for the most part. And that's something dunyawi. Progress, the Imam Muslim Center, that's progress. That's progress. That's what progress is. Spiritual progress, where is it? Where our people are still openly sinning. Where fornication is normal. Lying is normal. Being married 40 times is normal. Tasting the honey is normal. Muslims shooting Muslims is normal. Talking about drug dealing in the masjid is normal. ODing in the masjid is normal. Sisters, she covered it and during Jumu'ah in the night she's swinging off a pole, normal. And it's acceptable behavior. Where's the progress? Because progress, true progress, is uplifting the community spiritually, connecting them to Allah where they become better people, better human beings for themselves, for their families, and the community around them. That's true progress. And we haven't seen it. I live in Philadelphia. There is no spiritual progress. Some of us are still the same criminals we were before. Some of us. If you can't have an effect on your community and deal with the problems around you, then what's the reality? And that's the bottom line. Where is the spiritual progress? There is none. Ibn al-Qayyim, rahimahullah, he said, whoever treads the path of the Messenger of Allah, salatu and his companions, then let him become accustomed to character assassination and slander from Ahlul Bid'ah, the people of innovation, will conduct fault finding in order to turn people away from him. Name calling and character assassination is when once on the ropes, the individual suddenly reroutes the discussion to your aforementioned direction in order to avoid accountability. Listen to this. When the floor is opened up on this coat, because that's what it is a coat. You don't agree, that's fine. When the opened up on the coat, what did they do? When they couldn't answer the question about people being deviants, when they couldn't answer the agreement, when they couldn't answer the question about teaching the common people Sharh Sunnah, when they couldn't answer the questions, many other questions that we asked, they rerouted the discussion to character assassination and attacking the honor of the aforesaid people who were now standing up to them, because that way they never had to be held accountable, because as long as you keep a character assassination, the wheels keep turning like this, it keeps you It keeps the focus trying to be on you. You don't want the focus on you. So what you want to do is you want to switch it like that. You want to turn the focus on somebody else. Because if you turn the lights on, roaches scatter. And if you pay attention, you'll see there wasn't any progress. There wasn't any. There wasn't any spiritual progress. And at the end of the day, you'll find cults that the leaders of the cult has all the money and the communities barely can pay their rent. That's not what we see. So the reality is that this is what we see happening. And this is what we see happening. They're keeping the people busy with a boogeyman, a deviant boogeyman, who in my neighborhood, in Gotham City, Kingston and Clearfield, I don't see this boogeyman. I see dope addicts. I see prostitutes. People get shot every night. Broken homes. Murder rates. That's what I see every day. That's what I see. I don't see Abu Ishaq al-Ruhaini. I don't see a Ma'rabi. I don't see a Abu Ishaq. I don't see a Muhammad Hassan. I don't see a Mufti of the Imam al-Azhar. I don't see these people. I never met an ISIS member. I never met these people. So the end of the day is that you're trying to busy the people with affairs going on overseas that have nothing to do with them. And you're trying to busy them with what? A deviant who doesn't exist in their neighborhood. Because the reality is, 45th and Walnut, where's your refutation of them? 45th and Walnut, then on top of that, they don't even call to the innovation. Those people are stuck on 45th and Walnut. They don't even spread from out of there. The Ahmadiyya movement is spreading in Philadelphia. They're gaining a foothold. They're building masajid, what they call masajid. And we don't pray there. We don't eat their meat. We don't pray behind them. We don't consider them to be Muslims. We got the hukum from the ulama. But the point I'm making is that they are real Ahlul Bid'ah. Ahlul Kufr, who claim Islam. Where's the clear refutation of them? Where's the following of their tweets? Where's the following of their Facebook page? Because it's not about that. It's about power. Because you got to refute people who are like you. Because people like you, they take from the resources that you have. And that's what it's all about. And the reality is that, so people like the Ahmadiyya movement, which I try to say something about them every time I give the khutbah. And down at the masjid, we did a telelink about them. Our brother Abu Zayd. We let our community knows about what is real Ahlul Bid'ah. We don't get on the minbar and talk about the cult. We don't get on the minbar and talk about Hassan Somali. The minbar is not for that. The general class and the masjids are not for that. But you go to these places, they indoctrinate you to hate the other Muslims by doing what? Every khutbah, every class, they mention and slander and talk about the other Muslims who don't agree with them. Not true Ahlul Bid'ah, others Ahlul Sunnah. Every day. And I know this, I get the calls. People walking out of the masjid. A brother wife called him and said, come on, I'm ready to go. Dad, we can't have a class on Tawheed without them mentioning the brothers on the night shift. We can't have an academic talk without slandering Shadid or slandering Mufti. Really, this is what's happening in Germantown. So when they're on the ropes, it said any fair and truly intellectual debate will crush the slanderer or name caller before his audience, and the quality of his education degrades along with him. That's the reality. Think about it. The quality of his education, most of them can't hold a weight to somebody like Mufti Munir. Right? They can't. They can't. Let me have our brother Hassan Abdul Rahman in Egypt. Most of them can't hold a weight to our brother. To him, they can't. He can't. They can't do that. And the brother has a nice series of he's talking about principles and things like that. I think it's Era the Sunnah, something like that. It's real, the brother's going over principles. Show me the last time any of them guys went over a principle with you, except for some twisted principle they got from Shah Sunnah, and try to indoctrinate you with that. That when you see Ahlul Bidah walk across the street, but every time you walk down the street, you see a dope addict and a heroin addict on the dope nine. You haven't seen an innovator yet. That's just the reality. That's just the reality. Even if you don't agree with some of the things other brothers say, you may not agree with everything I say, or Abu Zayd say, or Abu Ali say, or even Shadid may say, but you think educationally, academically, any of them guys can hold a light to Abu Ali or Shadid or anything like that? No. But that's the point. The point is to cut you off from everybody that's academic. That's the point. That's what it is. So the reality is that because you'll start seeing they're not educated, they're not suitable to be in the position they're in. They're only translators. But they can't allow that to happen. So what they do is they keep attacking others, so you never look at their academic prowess. You keep them away. Because see, you need boogeymen to feed your industrial complex, which I call the Dawah industrial complex. The Salafi publication complex. The only way to keep feeding that machine is with refutations. Because you don't have anything else. Show me where academically they've done. Show me where's any of the usul al-fiqh classes or mustalah hadith, usul al-tafsir classes. Because I'm saying that they call themselves tulab al-ilm. I'm not talking about the person who knows that he's a translator and he teaches from the books of the ulama and he translates the ashar. I'm talking about people who put themselves in the bright lights. Where? Where? Show me. But no, you busy are people who haven't even just put the 40 ounce down. You busy with Sharh Sunnah. That's what you're busy with. He can't make wudu properly. He don't know the shurut al-salat. Like our brother Abu Zayd is going over now in the masjid, shurut al-salat. Because our people need that. Why would we talk about these affairs in the masjid during a general class? And those people in that community know how to pray and make wudu. That's what it is, the Dawah industrial complex. It's a control mechanism with many fingers, like an octopus. That's what it is. And it's a machine. It's a machine. So in closing, inshallah ta'ala, I read I'm going to try to read 2 chapters every day, inshallah ta'ala, but I'm also going to touch on a book called Ma'na Lahi Allah by Ahmed Milibar. Sheikh bin Baz did the muqaddam to the book, and he praised the book and said that the book should be taught in the masjids of Ahlul Sunnah. This is back in the 80s. So inshallah, we're going to try to also benefit from that book too. But the reality is this. Again, I'm going to reiterate. The night shift is not and will not ever be controlled by anyone other than me and Abu Zayd. The decisions that we make on this are decisions. And if anybody, don't like our decisions or want to advise us, you can always call us. We're very accessible and we're very approachable. You can always advise us. But the night show has did a lot. We have covered a lot. And don't be unjust to us and say that we've gotten soft or we've been controlled or watered down in some way. No, we did a lot. This summer was the summer of a revolt against the cult. It was a summer where our people stood up and had enough. And alhamdulillah, Allah allowed us to have a part in that. Allah allowed us to have a part in that. But sometimes brothers we have to deal with your own life sometimes. You have things that come up sometimes. We have our own studies and have our own things like that. And also the fight is not just one part. The fight is many things. It's many levels to it. It's an academic level to it. Okay? There's a forceful level to it. Not physically, but there's a smash mouth technique to it too. But there's also academic approaches to it. And it's also rebuilding the community itself. Like the Imam Muslim Center or the Free Islamic Library, Maktab Ibn Taymiyyah, or anything that people have that's about growth and about establishing things. Like we have now small kindnesses where we give out free food and feed people and free clothing. We sit the free clothes and the things for the masjid and get donated, and the people in the neighborhood, they come, Muslim and non-Muslim. If we want to start changing everything, we got to start not just talking about it, start doing actual results. And the first of the results is to cleanse the heart. This is why we're doing Journey to Allah. Not because somebody just automatically advised us with it, because we're going to deal with the history of the heart. But we're going to connect it to what we're going through. We're going to make it relevant. Because if you want our people to start getting better, you got to take their hearts away from personalities to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Like I remember our brother Hassan Abdul Rahman said in his interview, it's like the father complex. We go from one personality to the next. One dad to the next. Don't we? We go from one father, one dad, hey daddy, he's new daddy now. This new person is our new father. But our hearts never got connected to Allah. And this is what we have to do. And once we do that, we can see in the process of that, we can start building academic centers. We can start really showcasing who is really academic in our communities and not cult leaders who want to keep us destroyed and keep us feeding off their milk sacks like underneath the cow where we're just sucking milk from them. We're not getting any benefit. Where they're getting fat off of us, excuse me. They're the ones sucking the milk from us. They're getting fat off of us while we become dry, skinny, and destitute. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, anything I've said was incorrect, to forgive me for this from me and the shaitan. And anything that was the truth was from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We will continue tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, or the next day with the next chapter called Testimonials. And we will read from the book, The Meaning of La ilaha illallah by Ahmed Milibad. And also the night shift will be this week, either Wednesday or Thursday. When I return back to Philly, because I'm in Atlanta right now, inshallah ta'ala, we'll be back there and we were doing we'll be talking about the issues of how to deal with scholars when they make a mistake, because we got to be careful, again, when we're dealing with scholars, even if the scholar is wrong, even if we believe him to be really wrong and done some things that are just not right, whether personally or academically, there's a way to deal with people of their status, and it's not the same way that we would deal with one another. It has to be protocols, because our religion has protocols, but no doubt scholars can be held accountable. They can be called out, but it has to be with the proper protocol, because nobody is overneath the Sharia of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are not Sufis, where our scholars are infallible, or they can make mistakes, and there's no priesthood in Islam, and everybody can be brought to account, because Allah's religion is over everybody. So assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.